Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Christ Church Live. I'm your host, Father Michael, interim rector at Christ Church. And today I have the great privilege to interview our very own Tom Morelli, who's the deacon at Christ Church. I would like to just give you some quick notes of interest. Please, in the comments section, there's a place where you can write notes. So if you'd like to ask Deacon Tom a question or ask me, please do that. Just leave your comments in there. The interview will broadcast live on YouTube on Wednesday at 3 o'clock, and you can access that through our website. So we look forward to joining with you on Wednesday. And Tom, it's great to have you with us today. Like many of us, you are hopefully continuing to stay safe and healthy during this pandemic. Give our viewers an idea of what a day in the life of Deacon Tom Morelli is like these days.
Well, thank you, needless to say, for the invite, and to all our friends, peace. And so, yeah, what's the day of Deacon Tom? Well, there's the pre and the now. So let's stay with now. I mean, I have the pleasure, unlike what was before, I joined the staff meetings on Monday, and believe I add value there. And I think that I was always missing being part of that in the past. So that's positive. So Monday is staff meeting. Tuesday is centering prayer, and then our worship committee. And ironically, Father Mike, I was just talking to a dear friend, Dave Marshall, who I worked with for many years. Mm-hmm. And he said, so how's things going? I said, well, number one, our worship committee meeting takes less time than any worship committee I've ever been.
That's true.
And our staff meetings are all under an hour, which was always my hot button about that with him. So that's what we do on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday is our day to record, which is great. And it's also my day to spend time reflecting on the meditation and the Lectio Divina we did the previous day, right, during our centering prayer, and begin thinking about what that program will look like next week. So there's Wednesday, and then Wednesday night we have share prayer, which I think is great that we have some different folks attending that, and I believe that it would be great if all would that want to, when they have a feeling for a prayer. And Thursday we do morning healing service. Now that has been a big part of my life since actually I joined Christ Church long before I became a deacon. And I then use that day for pastoral calls to our brothers and sisters that can't make it to the healing service, but if they could, they would be there.
Yeah.
Saturday is Sabbath, and Sunday is worship.
Yeah.
So my additional things that I've always done, and now I feel very remiss because of this pandemic, but as you know, I've been a prison chaplain for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I miss the ability to bring the good news of Jesus Christ to those incarcerated. But on the other side, we have a number of men who we planted seeds of the good news whilst they were incarcerated, and now they're out. And I touch base with 4 or 5 of them every week. One has been reincarcerated, and he and I talk once every other week, and I write to him in the middle time, and he writes to me. So I still feel that God is strongly working in their lives, and know that many of the men that we don't hear from anymore, the same seeds were planted, and with God's grace, they will stay on the straight and narrow.
So that's a great ministry. Yeah, the prison ministry is just such a great ministry. A lot of churches find ways to be involved in that ministry as well.
Yep.
And they go visit, and of course the prisons have a chaplain as well. That was one of my good friends was a prison chaplain several years ago,
Uh-huh.
kind of a GS position, and
Right. Yeah.
yeah, a government position. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, it falls under the same umbrella as the military chaplains, for the Episcopal Church. So
Okay.
federal ministries, the bishop is Carl Wright, Bishop Carl Wright. He was a
Right.
friend of mine in the Air Force. He was elected as the bishop of the Armed Forces and federal ministries. So the hospital, the military, the prisons all fall under his purview. And he's a great guy. He's been kind of sickly lately, but he's up in their offices were right near the National Cathedral, actually. I don't know if you've ever met him. He's come down to preach at
I have.
at the cathedral. Yeah,
I was his deacon once or
yeah.
twice. Yeah.
Good.
So,
Yeah, he's
a great guy.
Great guy.
Yeah.
So I know he certainly needs our prayers. Just Bishop Carl Wright, wonderful human being.
Absolutely.
But I knew you had a lot of energy in that arena with the prisons, and certainly it's got to be heartbreaking for you because you were engaged in person. And of course, now everything is done virtually.
We can't do that.
Yeah, are you able to do that virtually?
No.
Zoom? Okay, I didn't know.
I've offered all type of options to my counterpart
Right.
there, and unfortunately, and I don't know what's happened since, but the budget crunch hit last year.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of my chaplain friends that really have all the county jails under their responsibility have been reduced. So yeah, so the men have even less than they had.
Wow. Before. Yeah. That's too bad because I know those that were in prison, the inmates looked forward to the visits from the outside world. So yeah. Well, I know you're certainly a valued member of our staff, and I know you continue to stay quite busy in the church, not just the local church, but in the diocese as well. What do you enjoy most in this current world of virtual meetings?
I love being part of the centering prayer movement because I believe very much in finding peace within, and our prayer for spiritual communion says that I hope you will join me, words to that effect. Yeah. And I believe that through our meditation and centering prayer, we hear the voice of God in us. So it's not something we have to go looking for. God continues to look for us. So not being able to talk to my homeless guys on the various corners that I used to visit, I just hold them in my heart and my prayers. So I'm recovering from the heartbreak of not being able to do what I do, by trying to be better at what I can do. So, yeah,
that certainly ties into the next question, and you just kind of hit on it. And I think we all fall into this boat, of things we did pre-COVID, and now our reality has changed. So some of the things you once took for granted before COVID and wish you could quickly get back to are certainly these things that are centered around your ministry, with the homeless and prisoners and inmates. I typically would go walk around downtown, and visit those on 17th Street, and they have a couple of encampments over there with the homeless. And yet with COVID, it's not smart to do that, now. And many of them aren't taking good precautions, so.
No, that's right.
Yeah, but I have seen a lot of our homeless citizens wearing masks, which is good. Wonderful.
That thanks be to God for that. Yeah.
So there's agencies downtown that are really helping those. And of course, one used to be Friend to Friend. It no longer exists, but now they have one called, I think it's called the Alpha Project.
It is the Alpha Project. Yeah.
And I see them all over the place.
Yeah. And Yeah, I have friends that were in the friend to friend,
Right.
and now they're with Alpha, so
Hmm.
that they do a lot of good. Just don't know what's really happening now that it's
Yeah.
snowing.
Yeah. I haven't been up there in
Yeah,
3 months. So,
you're right.
yeah. Well, I think I'd really like to focus a little bit on your role as the deacon at
Okay.
Christ Church. I've been privileged to serve at two or three parishes that had a deacon on staff, and
Mhm.
it was wonderful. But a lot of people aren't really, a lot of churches don't have that luxury. And so oftentimes I know when I was at St. David's, you came over and
Mhm.
sort of gave a good a recruitment about the life of the deacon and how to go about it, the process.
Right.
Uh, what's it like to be a deacon in the Episcopal Church today?
Well, it is absolutely a blessing to be able to be who I am as a person and a man of God at the same time. Well, we all jest in the clergy about our collar, but formation for me was not so much learning uh, scripture or learning the canons, but it was forming me to be a different person.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I put my collar on, it uh, makes me so appreciate feeling the bishop's hands on my head
Mm-hmm.
when he ordained me. Uh, that it's a moment I'll never forget. The activities that I find so rewarding as a deacon, uh, I've been called upon by the diocese on two different occasions for a major portion of my time in Southern California to work with some parishes that were in trouble. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, I was almost starting to feel like Red Adair, that when there was a problem, a fire needed to get put out. Uh, the gifts that God had helped me develop in the early part of my life were used. And Bishop Catherine, before she left, she said that it's now time for you to do your ministry work and not so much of your problem solving work. And so since Bishop Catherine left, that's what I've been doing. So I've had so much joy in serving at the altar with you and with Anne and with Mac. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so uh, you have to you have to appreciate that being an integral part of our liturgy is a gift to me, and I pray a gift to others because I'm not a priest, so I can't consecrate, but I have servant responsibilities. I
Mm-hmm.
think Bishop Matthew used to say, "You're the master of ceremonies." Yeah, okay,
Mm-hmm.
master of ceremonies, which is in reality what it is.
Yeah.
Uh, and continuing to try to emulate the life of Christ in my actions and in my word, and also demonstrating service to what that looks like. So on the altar, it's service. Stuffing the bags for our homeless is service. Working with the community of the incarcerated is service. So wherever I have seen service, need for service, I've jumped in.
Mm-hmm.
The blessing of becoming a deacon in that formation was not for Tom to do it, but for Tom to work with the priest to help organize our brothers and sisters to take that on. And for me, that was a major life change and one that I really find is a blessing. Again, restricted now because of COVID-19.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But and the other piece that is so rewarding is accompanying our bishop to different churches, like you and I first met at
Mm-hmm.
St. David's when I
Right.
was doing a visit. And our schedule is normally 2 or 3 times a year prior to COVID that, it would be our duty, my duty,
Right.
and so on and so forth. And that was always a wonderful opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to assist the bishop in doing bishop stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not so much of riding, so to speak, in the car with the bishop, but it's being part of that very holy experience that all of our bishops that we've had here have brought to the communities when they visit, not just a window dressing, if you will.
Right. Yeah. So I know this is to be true. I know it's a fact that the deacons are well respected in the Episcopal Church and beyond. A lot of people don't know, I mean, you chose the vocational diaconate, as a vocational deacon. The priest, every priest that's ordained in the Episcopal Church goes through the transitional diaconate, where we serve, or we're kind of lumped into the category of deacon, and then eventually ordained to the priesthood. Mm-hmm. But remarkable that the majority of deacons are that I've run into are in the vocational arena,
mm-hmm.
In this idea of service. You
Right.
actually recruited one of the ladies when I was
right.
there at St. David's Mercedes for the diaconate.
Yeah.
And so I think people know this about you, but you had another life before the diaconate,
Yeah, I did. And I'll get to that, but I also want to say one of the pieces of my responsibility, along with bringing the good news of the gospel to our people in this world, is also to bring the needs of our people to the church, mm-hmm. so that the church understands. So as we've discussed so many times, you and I over these last several weeks, is that the issue of worship and how we do that. And that will continue to press on my mind. But back to what I heard from all our deacon friends and our priests that didn't understand the vocational deacon. And the American Association of Deacons just put out a paper, ironically, in the last week or so, with the plea to refer to deacons like me as a deacon, and to those who are transitioning to the priesthood as transitional deacons, so as not to confuse the two.
Right.
And for my longest time down here, we went through 2 transitional deacons. And what I observed was that they were both doing whatever they had to do and learn to become a priest, but they weren't doing deacon work. So it was a stopgap, if you will.
Yeah.
And I had the honor to serve on the commissional ministry for the last few years. I got off last year before this all set in, and I brought that up, and under Bishop Susan, we've enacted a change so that there is actual meat put into the responsibility of a transitional deacon to really understand what it is we do.
So that's so necessary, because there was confusion, but why would Deacon Tom choose the vocational diaconate as opposed to the transitional diaconate, meaning that you could have actually become a priest if you wanted to, you could go through that process. And in fact, a lot of deacons who are vocational at some point have sensed this calling of God to become transitional diaconates and deacons, and then move into the priesthood, which is true of a lot of people that have had second careers in life. In the military, we had a lot of senior leaders who ended up going into the priesthood, entering the priesthood after their stint in the military was over, after they retired.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I really love about the Episcopal Church. They certainly have these categories that we can fit into nicely, and allow God to use our gifts and graces.
Mhm.
So, what keeps you going? What keeps you going in this vocational calling?
Well, yeah, every once in a while, I feel more sacramental than I'm called to be. But that dates back to my youth. I really started out as a young man thinking I would be a priest. And then I guess I hit puberty, and that went out the window because I was a practicing Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
So I've always had this gnawing at my head about the diaconate. And I would often be asked as I was going through formation and discernment, why not the priesthood? And my only logical answer could be, excuse me, is that I didn't feel God calling me to consecrate.
Mm-hmm.
Did not call me to that sacrament. And somebody said, well, we have the ABCs. You can't absolve sin. And I said, nobody absolves sin but God.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm like everybody else as it comes to that.
Yep.
And you can't bless. And I've had a few discussions with a lot of people about that. And I said, as a young man, I was taken up short by my grandmother who raised me. If I say God bless you, and it was just rote, it wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
wishing God to bless the person who sneezed. So fortunately, I can bless, but not just you, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So we just changed the word from you to us. And
Yeah.
I'm committed to do that.
Yeah.
So it leaves me with only, not only, but the lack of a need to have the ability to consecrate.
Yeah.
And so that's what keeps me going. And I so look forward to this pandemic that we're in winding down, because the thing I know for certain, I don't believe my prison ministry will take the amount of time it took for me prior to some of my illness and COVID. So I'm wrestling with the fact that I may never be back there every week.
Yeah.
And what's God calling me to do in service and helping God materialize the plans he has for humankind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Through my feet and hands.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I think as you look at the holistic picture, of the deacon and the role and responsibilities of the deacon, it's pretty multifaceted, actually.
Yeah.
You do a lot in your roles and responsibilities, even at Christ Church.
Yeah.
Of course, the deacon, if there's a deacon, reads the Holy Gospel. The deacon leads us in the confession.
Yep.
There's just a lot that the deacon does that just kind of complements and mirrors the priest, working side by side.
That's right.
So as you think about this sort of holistic idea of the diaconate, especially the vocational diaconate,
Mm-hmm.
what would be one thing about the role of the deacon in the overall Episcopal Church that you would like to see differently or change or modify, or anything that stands out in your mind?
Yeah, I think we still have a need for the role of the deacon to be clearly understood by many priests.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that to you because many of my friends that are priests, they never had, as you experienced, never had a deacon.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing they have had association with is their role as a transitional deacon.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very different. And how for a priest that has the benefit of a deacon, how to best use their talents.
Yeah.
So I've been blessed with Edward and Anne to do a wedding with the bishop's approval, or to do a number of burials. with the bishops, Peter and you and I did one earlier this year.
Right.
So there's many sacramental pieces of what a deacon does that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah. I think that's true even in the church among our parishioners.
That's
You know, you've been blessed to be the deacon in residence at Christ Church. So people there certainly have a good idea of your roles and responsibilities as the deacon. And it's kind of neat at Christ Church seeing that come into play. Like you said, a lot of churches don't know. And when the deacon comes, they don't know the priest doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so there needs to be some better education, even at our school for ministry.
That's
here.
right.
You know, how we educate the priest who some are just fresh out of seminary, you know, and some are in their second or third. But then we've got some that have been a priest forever and they still don't know what the deacon does and what his or her role is.
Yeah.
I've been blessed. You know, I think I told you in Hawaii, Becky and I had the deacon at St. Timothy's in Hawaii, and he went on to become the archdeacon for the diocese, you know, and we have that similar role here at in the Diocese of San Diego. Is that Pat?
And no, it's Pam.
Pam, yeah.
Pam was in school when we were in school. We were in first class. She took part-time studies, so she became a deacon a year later. Yeah. So.
And her predecessor was Bob, right?
Bob Nelson.
Yeah. We even at Christ Church, you know, I got to be familiar, to get to know Phil Lovelace, you know.
Yes.
And what a great guy! What a great deacon!
Absolutely.
Great heart for people, well loved and respected. Yeah. So I think it takes people like you and Phil and, you know, Bob and Pam to kind of bridge that gap with the priests that don't know. Perhaps that should be something that happens at the convention. There's a workshop, you know, a workshop that lets our people and our priests who've never had the luxury of working with a deacon know how to interact. You know, one of the things that I've been thinking about lately is the idea of transition at Christ Church, and the reality that my role will soon come to an end, and you'll be working with a new priest at Christ Church, whoever they call. What will be some of the most important considerations for you in this new venture? What do you hopefully see unfolding for you?
Yeah. So one, whoever God sends to us, I pray has the appreciation of the value of a deacon. And like all the priests that I have worked directly with, we are an equal with different calls. So, but I've also gone to churches in the diocese where, what are you here for? And what are you going to do? You know, so I hope that our new priest, A, has an appreciation for how I can help. B, I really hope that we have a new priest that has an ecumenical feel, because we have this island home of ours here in southern San Diego County, that there are a lot of ways that I believe we can do more in the community as a united front, as opposed to each individual stovepipe, the Episcopal, the Lutheran, the Methodist, the Roman Catholic. So I hope that is a bent that the new priest has. And that really leads right into a heart for service and reconciliation, because we have a lot of that in front of us. And I pray that is some of the gifts that they bring to us.
Yeah. Well, I know from my interview with Matt and Julie last week, they really have a good profile of based on our listening sessions of the priests that they think would fit well with Christ Church. And I believe their hearts are in the right place as they do their due diligence. And I'm a big believer in the providence of God, that God will certainly send the right person. And it's just, I know from my own experience, it's just been a joy to serve with you, Tom, side by side, to be able to do ministry together, to be spared from preaching where you preach and Charlotte preaches. And, I think people really appreciate that, seeing a kind of a unified staff. I don't think when I first came, you were coming to the staff meetings, but I thought, why weren't you coming? It was very critical for you to be there. And we worked that out. And I'm glad we did, because you certainly bring so much to the table, and as far as your gifts and graces, your wonderful spirit and sense of humor. And I know I speak for all people at Christ Church when I say that we're just grateful for your amazing and dynamic leadership among us. You're such a wonderful blessing and inspiration to all of us. I often get emails and say, when's Deacon Tom preaching again? And I'm grateful for that, because you bring some things to the forefront that we don't often get if one person preaches all the time. So that's really nice. And I know it's just been a joy for me, my friend, my brother. It's a joy to be with you on this journey, to be traveling this path together. And I know a lot of we've got some really wonderful comments about all the curls in your hair there, And I don't have that problem, of course, as everybody knows, but you really have a lot of comments on the sidebar about Tom's curls.
I know, it's like unbelievable.
You and Craig Blassingame with all that hair, we
have a good
time with you guys.
We have a good time chiding one another a little bit. But Father Michael, I have to say the exact same thing. I can't imagine going through COVID-19 and all that we've been through with this, with anyone else.
No, thank you.
We have been an absolute pleasure for me to work with you through this time.
Thank you.
And I will always be available to come up and deacon with you wherever your next assignment is. And I'm not looking forward to that day.
No, thank you. I'd be honored anytime. I'm not sure what the Lord has in store for me afterwards, but as you know, I've been working on the nonprofit for veterans, entitled Save a Veteran a Day. So really trying to generate a lot of energy after my assignment at Christ Church ends in that arena. Mm-hmm. And but I'll tell you, my brother, it's been a blessing, and I'm glad that we've journeyed together. I've learned a lot. You've taught me a lot, and I hope I've taught you some things as well. And I just know that God has blessed you with a beautiful wife, Polly, family, church that loves you, and I can't imagine having gone through COVID without you and Charlotte and Paul Laidline and our wonderful vestry and Nancy Funk. Yeah. And so now we just keep on keeping on and trust the Lord. That's all we can do. But blessings, my brother. May God's richest blessings abide with you and Polly and your family. And till we meet again, we'll just keep on charging forward.
Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on.
Blessings to you and Becky as well, my friend.
Love you, Tom.
Love you too, brother.
Appreciate you.
Bam.
Take care.
Bam.
High five here. See you later.
Thank you for this time.
Thank you, my friend.